We just wanted to put together this video to help new TAs learn how best to handle office hours. The first tip we have is you should come prepared. You should know how to do all the problems, like understand all the problems in the pre-lab and the post-lab. Especially as we get into the semester, you'll want to make sure you're up to date on the pre-lab for whatever experiment we're currently doing, as well as post-lab as what we just finished. So sometimes you'll have to know the pre-lab for the next one, the post-lab for the current one. You should also, if you find the time to read through the procedure, brush up a bit, just know the general context of the whole experiment so that you can relate it to you can relate the concepts to the problems as you're answering students' questions. You want to be very careful not to ever say like this will get 100% or this will get full points or like this is perfect, that sort of thing. You want to avoid that. You're welcome to check concepts with them and like say you've got the concept, you're on the right path, that sort of thing. But we want to avoid saying you will get 100% on this, so that if they have if the TA grades it slightly differently, they don't get upset about you having said that they get 100%. So it's just best to avoid that whole situation.
Another tip we wanted to share is that you can check out a trackpad from the chemistry office. So they look like they come in this, and they have like the stylus and then the trackpad. And you'll have to download the software on your computer, but once you do that, it'll work as soon as you plug it into your like USB port. And I'll just quickly demonstrate what it'll look like. It's really helpful for calculation problems. So for instance, like if we're doing Beer's law, you could write it out like this and then go through the problem. Yeah, so that's super helpful. I mean, if you have an iPad or something or another tablet, that would work. But if you don't, you can check this out for the whole semester. So, and you just have to return it before like the last day of class, I think. So with that said, we're going to role play a couple situations for you guys, and we want to share like 5 strategies that you can use when talking to students in office hours, or I mean, even in lab, anytime you're answering questions, these tips can be pretty helpful. So we're going to be talking about experiment 1 pre-lab and some of the other questions with that report. So.
All right, I'll be the student. So Holly, I was looking at this. I was looking at the pre-lab. Got the first couple pretty well. I don't even know where to start. I don't get it with 1C, like talking about when we're embedding in the yellow region, larger absorbance. How am I supposed to answer that?
So a key concept for this question is how like color and absorbance and transmittance are all related. So do you remember in like the pre-lecture talking about like the color wheel and how that relates to absorbance at all?
I do remember the color wheel. That's where it was like kind of drew out 6 pieces and each one was like a color of the rainbow, and whatever was opposite got absorbed. Like if you saw one, the opposite got absorbed, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if we're looking at the 2 solutions, we have a yellow solution and a lavender solution. So like what colors would they absorb?
Okay, so I guess if we're looking at through the color wheel, then yellow would absorb the violet light and the lavender would absorb the yellow light.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you've got that concept.
Okay. And then the next part I did find kind of tricky as well. Like what effects does the wavelength of light have on epsilon?
Yeah, so I think the best way to think about this is if you had like the same, like a solution, and you showed two different wavelengths of light on it, would the absorbance be the same for both wavelengths? What do you think?
I guess it probably wouldn't, based off of what we just talked about, since it'll absorb in one like color and not absorb in the other.
Yeah, so you basically just answered the question. It will depend on the wavelength. So
Oh, okay. Oh, nice. I think I got it.
do you want to try explaining back to me those two concepts that we went over with the epsilon and then the absorbance?
Yeah, I think that would help. So we're gonna see the opposite color on the color wheel from what gets absorbed. So if we're seeing yellow light, that means it's absorbing purple. So in this case, the purple solution is going to have a higher absorbance. And then the epsilon values kind of will correspond with the absorbance. And so if we're looking at that same one, the purple solution is going to have a higher epsilon value when you're shining the yellow light on it, versus the yellow solution isn't going to have as high of an epsilon value.
Yeah, I think you've covered the concepts all fairly well.
Okay.
Is there anything else you had
Yes.
questions about?
Actually, I was doing number 2, and I feel like it's pretty simple, but I guess just Beer's law. I just wasn't completely sure if I was using all the right values. And I
Okay.
wanted to check. I just want to know if I was going about it the right way. So I had absorbance is equal to 0.4. We're looking for epsilon, and I had 0.01 molar for concentration, and then I had 0.01 meters for the path length.
Okay. You're super close. So you're using the right equation. So that's good that you recognize that. The only one I'd say is that path length will be in centimeters. So in lots of things we like to use meters, but for path length specifically, you'll just put it in the value as centimeters.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, awesome. And then after we've done the post lab, now coming in to see Holly again. So I felt pretty good about this lab report. I just wasn't completely sure on all the online activity questions. I feel like I got it. Can you look over my answers for the online activity and tell me if I got them all right?
Yeah, so every TA grades differently, and since I'm not your TA, we can definitely talk about concepts for each of the questions, but I won't be able to tell you that you got them all right. So just as a heads up. So, but we can definitely still talk about the concepts.
Okay, that makes sense. So hopefully that gave you a good idea of some of the strategies you can employ as you go through office hours. You'll certainly have plenty of opportunities to employ all of these, and they can all be very effective in helping students learn.